So thou, O son of man, I have set thee a watchman unto the house of Israel. Therefore, thou shalt hear the word of my mouth, and warn them from me. Have no fellowship with the unfruitful works of darkness, but rather expose them.
Coming to you from an undisclosed location in Middle Tennessee and examining current events from a biblical perspective, this is Bible News Radio with your hosts, Randall and Stacy Harp.
All right, hey everybody. I want to welcome you to today's edition of our free-for-all Friday edition of Bible News Radio. So glad that you're here today. We're going to talk about some of the interesting news of the day. There's some sad news out there, actually. You know, we're going to do survey with you and all that. But let me first, before we get any further, remind you that this show is sponsored in part by Bullhorn, which is part of the free conference call
Family.
Yeah, it is. If you're not following us on Bullhorn, the mobile app, don't worry. You can do that. Go to getbullhorn.com. Go there. Get it. Download it. Follow us. Be inspired. That's right. Because we want to build a community over on Bullhorn. That's right, people. Also, want to thank you guys for tuning in on Facebook and Twitter. I know some of you watch on Twitter and you never tell me. No, you don't. Periscope, of course. Thank you for the super heart. Appreciate it. And hello, BJJ. Nice to see you guys. That's right, people. So did you guys hear that Delta Airlines is actually taking a seat out of the aisle on their airplane? They're making their seats bigger in order to make air travel more comfortable than on all the other airlines. When all the other airlines are making their, trying to crowd you all into their seats like a sardine.
Make air travel more uncomfortable than ever.
Yes. Delta has decided to zag instead of zig.
All right, good for them.
So,
Kudos.
for those of you who hate to airline travel because you feel like you're squished like a sardine, you might want to check out Delta Airlines, just so you know. Also, this episode is also brought to you in part by Ariel Ministries. Don't forget, you can always go to ariel.org, use the coupon code BibleNews, and save 20% on anything on the website there. We'll talk a little bit more about that later. So, Bareface, I know it's not your real name. How's your day been, buddy?
It's been good. Been going by really fast. Maybe because the night was so short.
I know, it's because you were doing so much stuff. Yeah, you were. What? Okay. I'm going to go over to Bible News Radio Facebook page, see if there's anybody over there. It looks like Periscope's kind of dead. It's like 4 people in there. That's like totally dead. Hey, Marty and Melanie are in there. Wait, okay, hold on.
Well,
we are going to click on the video on this. I'm trying to find. There it is. There we are. I'm like, where are we going to? There we are. Gotta mute everything on Facebook. All right, here we go. Your eyes are so beautiful, mister. Yep.
You talking to me?
I'm talking to you, mister.
You talking to me?
Yep. Okay.
I thought maybe you were talking to her dog.
Nope.
Because you call him Mister all the time.
I know, I do call him Mister. He is my mister. I love my mister. Yeah, I do. He's my sweet little mister face. Yes, he is. Yes, he is. Yes, he is. Yes, he is. Yes, blah, blah. Yeah, la, la, la. Okay, anyway, okay, I'm done.
Yeah, that's good.
Hey,
quit while you're behind.
I see. What do you mean quit while I'm behind? I should throw something at you.
Go ahead. I dare you.
There. I threw my pen at him. I could throw mascara at you.
No, don't do that.
All right.
That could be really messy. It's one thing to wash ink out of.
Well, I wouldn't take the cap off.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there you go.
Somehow we were frozen over on
Were we?
Switchboard, but
Oh.
streaming here on this end looks all good to go. So
You know what's really funny about doing this show is that sometimes I think shows are going to get like this big audience, right? And then other times I think nobody and their grandmother will even tune in for it. I don't know what it is. Hey, Steven, thanks for sharing it out. Appreciate it. Yeah, so today our jumping off topic is, should Christians use lawyers? I mean, that got me thinking because, a lot of people are, well, there's a more liberal bent to the faith that believes that Christians should be doormats, right? I mean, because you're a Christian, because Jesus said, you should turn the other cheek and let them hit you really hard, right? That's what Jesus said. He said, turn the other cheek so that your oppressor can smack you one and beat you up, right? Just kidding. Actually, Jesus never said that. If you think that, then you don't know the Bible very well. He did say, turn the other cheek, but he didn't say to be a doormat. And I have to tell you that that it's been really interesting for me personally to get to the place in my life where I believe it's okay for myself legally, right? Because let's just be honest, a lot of us have been taught, oh, you should just turn the other cheek, right? But in Micah 6:8 it says, he has shown thee, O man, what is good and what the Lord requires of thee, to walk justly, to walk, humbly, and to show mercy, right?
do justly, love mercy, and walk humbly with thy God.
Right. And so mercy triumphs over judgment.
Indeed.
That is true. But if God wasn't for justice, then God would not be a judge, and he wouldn't have given the law. Right? I mean, think about it, you guys.
Nor made himself subject to it.
Right, exactly. And so, the whole book of Romans is really a book that actually addresses this issue in the Bible, Actually, we just got a comment here from Make America Great Wolverine. Why not rather be wronged? Why not rather be cheated? Mm-hmm. Yep. Well, that's a good question.
And that's the question, the rhetorical questions that Paul asked in 1 Corinthians chapter 6. And I do plan to get there.
Uh-huh, you do? Mm-hmm. All right.
Awesome.
Awesome.
I didn't know what your plans were, but...
Well, my plans is to break up the topic,
This is Free for All Friday,
It
folks,
is Free for All Friday, so we're going to interact with the audience. Actually, somebody told me today that they love Free for All Friday the most because we actually talk to our audience. And actually,
we do that all the time.
We talk to our audience a lot.
I guess more.
But when we have a guest, it's really hard to talk to our audience,
But then when we have a guest, hey, do you have questions for our guest? And then crickets.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, hey.
It's like if you like the interaction, well, then interact then.
No, well, the truth is we get more people tuning in when we don't have a guest.
I know.
That's the truth. And it's not a bad thing, actually. I mean, it's kind of weird, actually. But then there are some people who come for guests, so don't worry, we will be continuing to have guests. But I like Free for All Friday because honestly, we can talk about whatever the heck we want. The question of the day is, should Christians use lawyers? And it's funny. Let's just bring this to a level. Okay, how do I say this? Okay, just as an example, should Christians use lawyers to write a contract so that you can buy real estate? There you go. That's a good question, right? Or should Christians use lawyers to write a contract, like a prenuptial agreement? Right? Yeah, prenups are like controversial.
Rightly so.
Should Christians use a lawyer to adopt a child? It's just a question. See, people always think negatively about the use of a lawyer. And that's the thing that one of the things I'm trying to change is that I want people to realize, and maybe it's just because this show is really, how do I say this? It's like an evolution of what we go through in our life and our history, right? I mean, if you want to know me, listen to the last 15 years of almost 15 years of archives. You'll see me go through this big evolution journey. Not a journey like I believe in evolution, but you know what I'm saying. And it really does, give you questions, because a lot of people, let's just talk women, right? Now, women in America we didn't get to vote, right? And that's a great question too. Should Christians be lawyers? That is awesome. That's a great question. Yeah, not only use lawyers, but should they be a lawyer? Yeah, well, I can tell you, I think so. Paul the apostle, he was a lawyer. And, he's said to be the greatest apostle of all time, that, he was a lawyer. Jesus knew the law. He wasn't a lawyer. He was a rabbi. But I think, going back to my point about women, in America, women could not vote for a very long time, right? And finally, when women were given the right to vote, do you think that the lawyers, had something to do with it, like in getting the law passed? Do you realize that most of our Congress, a big part of the Congress, the people in Congress are lawyers? They have they're attorneys, Most of our presidents have been lawyers in America, just as an example. Most judges are lawyers. In fact, I think all the judges are lawyers. So my point is here that we have law all around us, right? And we have the idea of law. We live under a system of laws. And yet, for some people, they go, well, I don't need a lawyer. I don't believe in that. I think you should just be cheated. Why not be wronged, etc., blah, blah, blah. And, the point in Scripture about it is very, very clear in the context in which it's written. And that's what we always have to remember when we're reading the Bible. We always have to remember the context. Taking the Bible out of context is not good, first of all, because it can be misapplied in so many ways. And so that's kind of what we hope to do here on this show. So and should Christians be tax collectors? That, should they work for the IRS? That's a good question. Should Christians work for the IRS? Yeah, I would think so. I mean, yeah. So, all right. So, sower of the word wants you to read 1 Corinthians 6, 1-8. You already got it pulled up?
Yeah.
Okay. Randall's got it pulled up, so let's look at it.
Let me get my screen capture to cooperate.
Stephen says, I have a lawyer, but he and she are Christians. Yeah, well, I can tell you the Christians that are persecuted all over the world. Pastor Saeed, just as an example, who was in the news when he was being detained illegally in another country. It was lawyers, the American Center for Law and Justice, who went to his defense. A lot of the people that we talk about on the show who are being persecuted for their faith, whether it be through the homosexual lobby or things like that, they have Christian attorneys going to their defense. Without those Christian attorneys, where would some of these people be? I mean, seriously, right?
Yeah, ready to roll here.
Okay, go ahead.
You people that follow Daily Disciple / Weekends in the Word know that I usually use the King James Bible. I'm not a King James only advocate. And
really?
No, I'm not. And
Okay.
and you folks know the reasons why, so I'm going to forego that and just read it.
Okay. By the way, hey everybody that came in.
The Apostle Paul writes, "Dare any of you, having a matter against another, go to law before the unjust, and not before the saints? Do ye not know that the saints shall judge the world? And if the world shall be judged by you, are ye unworthy to judge the smallest matters? Know ye not that we shall judge angels? how much more things that pertain to this life? If ye then have judgments of things pertaining to this life, set them to judge who are least esteemed in the church. I speak to your shame. It is so. Is it so that there is not a wise man among you? No, not one that shall be able to judge between his brethren? But brother goeth to law with brother, and that before unbelievers. Now, therefore it is utterly a fault among you, because you go to law with another. Why do you not rather take wrong? Why do you not rather suffer yourselves to be defrauded? Nay, ye do wrong and defraud, and that your brethren.
Alrighty. Okay, so this is probably the most popular passage in the Bible about law. But look at the context, right? The context says nowhere that we can't use a lawyer.
Right?
The context is actually talking about believers among believers, right?
Bringing their grievances before unbelievers,
Right,
the worldly courts
exactly.
of the day.
Yes. So those people who say, well, okay, so let's just say, let's just say there was a car accident. Okay, let's say somebody hit you and killed your spouse, which God forbid that. We don't want God to allow that, but let's just say that happened. And then, and let's just add another layer to it. Let's say that the guy that hit you and killed your spouse, but you survived, was a drunk driver. Wouldn't you want a lawyer in the case to help prosecute the drunk driver? Of course you would.
But what if he's a believer?
Well,
He's an alcoholic Christian,
okay.
an alcohol abusing Christian.
I'd still people say I pray about. I know, right, Stephen? Yeah, I mean, well, actually, we have a friend who this is actually a real life event. We have a friend whose son was killed accidentally. They were shot and they were killed, and there was a lawyer involved and everything. Anyway, the guy got time in jail, but the mother of that son actually, the mother of the murdered son, actually went in and led that guy to the Lord. And there was actual forgiveness offered as a result of that. So here's my point. My point is that God loves justice, and he tells us to pursue justice. He also tells us, though, to pursue mercy, right? Mercy and justice coexist together. The problem is when people try to say, oh, well, no, you should just be merciful in this regard, but then deny the justice. See, here's the thing. Everybody wants justice. Everybody does.
For everyone, for someone else, not for themselves.
Right. And so the thing is it is not wrong to want justice. But people always think justice is a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. It's definitely not a bad thing. I'll give you a perfect example from my life personally. You guys,
I pledge allegiance to, to the flag, of the United States of America, the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, with liberty,
and justice for all. There you go. So, like in my life when I was a kid, I was molested by my great uncle. That was my mother's uncle. And I turned him in for molesting me, right? My mom forced me. He actually went to jail, right? He went to jail because I turned him in. There was all this evidence they were going to put him away for 25 years. My mother forced me to recant my story. In other words, lie. She wanted me to lie about it, which was ridiculous because there was pictures and there's all this evidence that this guy had done this, right? So long story short, I went and I recanted under coercion by my mother, who was not a very nice person, because she was going to be implicated as well for, her part in knowing what was going on against me. Well, the charges got dropped, unfortunately, because that was the law in California way back in the 80s when this took place. But many years later, when I graduated, I moved out on my own, because this happened when I was in high school. When I moved out on my own, I went to therapy, and the therapist put in a request to the state of California to get me victim witness assistance, which was money awarded to literal victims of crime, which I was multiple times over, enough to get a guy behind bars for 25 years. That should tell you the severity of the abuse I went through. And justice was done when I was awarded $10,000 by the state of California because of my abuse. Okay? So that is a perfect instance of justice being served to me in the form of minimal, trust me, minimal, financial compensation for therapy. Actually, that's where that money went. My uncle, he lived the rest of his life out of jail, and so that there was no justice there. But I guarantee you, if he didn't repent before he died, he has received his just reward. And it's interesting because the Bible talks about a just reward, right? And we're all going to get it, whatever it is, good or bad. God is just. He's going to give us a just reward. So justice isn't a bad thing. And yet, for some reason, in the culture that we live in, because it's we're told as believers, well, you should just let that slide, or just forgive them, or whatever. I just have to tell you, I'm done. There are people here on Periscope who are ripping people off. They're selling business services they shouldn't be, and they have been served with papers, because I'm done. I'm done protecting people who are doing things bad. I'm done protecting people who are using the name of Jesus and defrauding other people. That's not what Jesus would do. And I mark my words, if you are somebody who does this, you better watch it, because God will get you. He will. He will get you. He will expose you. He will make sure you pay for the wrongful deeds that you do to other people. And, he's merciful. He gives you time to repent. But God is not going to be mocked. And his people, really, frankly, in my opinion, we should all be on the front lines of trying to protect and defend those who can't. In fact, we're told in Scripture that we should be defending the widows and the orphans in particular, because let's say, and here's a perfect example, let's say a woman is married and the husband leaves her, right? But she has a kid. Technically, that kid is an orphan, because that parent left, biblically speaking. So the church is supposed to come in and help, bring justice to that family and help them out. And yet, for some reason, and this drives me crazy, and I'm just sharing, but for some reason, people often go, well, just let them get away with it or whatever. And it's kind of like, it's like victims get re-victimized over and over and over again unless somebody stands up. And I don't know, maybe it's because I'm this close to 50, but half a century in, it's kind of like I'm at the point now where it's like, you know what? He has shown the old man what is good, right? What is good and what is just, Micah 6:8, we need to remember that justice and mercy go together with humility. He has told you, O man, what is good, and what does the Lord require of you but to do justice, to love kindness, and to walk humbly with your God. Micah, the prophet, that's where this is quoted. What does he require of you? To do justice, people, to love mercy or kindness, depending on your version, and to walk humbly with your God. So we're not supposed to do justice with vengeance, because the Bible says, vengeance is mine, I will repay, says the Lord. So the vengeance is God's. But we are to walk justly and to do justice coupled with mercy, right? But let me ask you something. How many times have you heard a sermon on this from your church? I have never heard a sermon about it anywhere. And so So anyway, I just wanted to share that today, in part, because I want to encourage you that it's okay. It's okay to get justice. It's okay to pursue justice because we're told to do it, right? We're required to do it. And let me just say this, if you're somebody who's on the other end of injustice, you want people too. You guys remember Virginia Prodan? Virginia Prodan was on my show. She's actually a human rights attorney. She's the one that wrote the book Saving My Assassin, right? Now, her assassin came to kill her there in Romania, because Romania is a communist country, at least it was at the time when she was there. I mean, her assassin came in and literally was going to kill her, right? And the Lord spoke to her and said, share the gospel with this guy. And she did. She was obedient. And the guy got saved. And I'm not going to tell you what happened. You got to get the book. But it's super cool what happened to this guy afterwards. Just saying. And he actually shares his experience in the book. But she got justice eventually because of what happened. So.
Well, as a human rights attorney, that
Right.
was her whole MO is.
Right. You're reading the Mark Shaw book. Cool. Yeah, all his books look good, don't they? I still haven't found my copy. I have no idea where it is. It's probably hiding somewhere.
Mark Shaw book. Which one of the 30? The one who was promoting about
Yeah, did you buy the
courage
one-
in the face of
Courage
evil?
in the Face of Evil, yeah. See, again, that's just another perfect
Justice.
example. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
of that. So,
And we're to
gosh, it's already a half hour into our
to,
show.
to do justly or justice. It's mishpat in the Hebrew, which has a very legal sense to it. Sometimes it's translated let me bring up the Strong's list. Case, cause, charge, claim, court, customs, decision, all those sort of legal kind of terms it carries with that has been translated that way. So it's a very legalese kind of word, if you would, mishpat. To do mishpat and to love chesed, which is the mercy, or it's that book that you bought for me a few years back, the English to Hebrew that has the Psalms transliterated into Hebrew, English translated in Hebrew, really weird way, but it helps you to learn the Hebrew alphabet and pronunciations. But the author there talks about chesed and how it really doesn't translate into English. I see here in this interlinear version, I look in here, it translates it covenant loyalty. But in that book, the aforementioned book, it doesn't translate it because it really doesn't cleanly translate into English. Mercy. Just leaves it as chesed. And
So, Sower of the Word says, if you hit a car and killed someone unintentionally, would you want justice or mercy to be granted to you?
yes.
The answer is yes. And the reason why is, first of all, thank God I live in America, okay? Because America has probably the best judicial system in the world.
It's certainly got it. It's a mixed bag, but at least there
And-
are trials and
Right. And in that
juries and
that particular case, I don't know if it would be tried by a judge or a jury, but whatever the case would be, no pun intended, the laws on the books for an accident like that would certainly carry some mercy with it, but justice should definitely be served.
well, it's a criminal case. It would be
Yeah.
charged by
So,
a trial by jury if
Do I
you
ever-
so elected it.
yeah, I mean, do I ever
You
want
have
to
the right to trial by jury.
Do I ever want to be in the situation? No, I try to drive very carefully. But I understand what your point is. Your point, and that's an emotive argument right there too. See, that very comment is exactly what
Yeah.
I'm trying to, combat. And it's real easy because what you're doing, sower of the word, what you're doing is you're taking scripture out of context and you're using it as a battering ram in some ways, basically saying these things.
I take it just as just discussion.
Well, but he's
I'm not-
he's misusing scripture.
Okay, I'm not seeing the comments.
He's taking it out of context,
Yeah.
right? So, the next scripture he puts up is all things whatsoever you would that men should do to you. Do you even so to them?
Exactly,
Right,
and
but
that's
the context,
and that's Paul's point in 1 Corinthians 6.
right.
He says just the opposite. That's his charge. Why do you not rather suffer yourselves to be defrauded? Nay, you do wrong and defraud, and that your brethren. That's the whole problem. The fact that you're, the one thing, believers going before unbelievers to judge them is one thing, but let's get back to the core, that you're doing stuff to one another that you ought not to be doing. You wouldn't even be in this situation. That's the real sort of, the way I get it, his real condemnation is that they're doing wrong, defrauding people and brethren, no less, those, naming the name of Yeshua. And
Yep.
yeah,
Go ahead and block that person too.
if we
If you guys see any of the sex bots or whatever, go ahead and block them. Mark it as spam or something, okay?
by the grace of God, if we did endeavor to obey the golden rule, then yeah. But in this world we have tribulation. Sort of not exactly related, but I was thinking of Matthew 10, where Yeshua sends the 12 out on a missionary journey, somewhat brief, and he tells them, don't take another cloak, don't take money belt or scrip,
Thank you for
money
sharing.
in it. Don't take an extra cloak, whatever, and don't worry about sandals. Just go out there, and as people provide for you, that's good. And people say, well, look right there, a missionary is supposed to just live off of whatever, wherever they go.
You ever notice that people who always promote all this stuff don't do it themselves?
Yeah, but then
But do you ever notice that? I mean, seriously, do you ever notice that?
But then Luke 22, just
Yeah.
before his crucifixion, Luke 22 verse 35. I need to put it up, or why not a little break?
Okay.
And he says, and he said unto them, when I sent you without purse and scrip and shoes, lacked ye anything? And they said, nothing. Then he said unto them, but now he that hath a purse, let him take it, and likewise his scrip. And he that hath no sword, let him sell his garment and buy one. For I say unto you that this that is written must yet be accomplished in me. And he was reckoned among the transgressors for the things concerning me having an end. And they said, Lord, behold, here are 2 swords. And he said to them, it is enough. The point being, in one instance, when he was physically with them, he didn't accompany them into all the villages and cities, but he sent them out while he walked on earth and said, don't take a money belt, don't take sandals, don't take money, and sent them out. Such is provision. He says, remember when I did this, sent you without purse, did you lack anything? No, we didn't. He says, well, I'm telling you now, I've got a different command for you. If you have a purse, take it. If you got some money, take it. And if you don't have a sword, sell your garment and go buy one, because you're going to need it. Because times are changing. When, if, later on he says, if they do this in the green, what shall they do in the dry? The way, he was mistreated and crucified, and, they were on the run. Not that God couldn't provide for them, but it was a different circumstances. And back in even Luke 10, he says, I send you out as sheep among wolves. Be wise as serpent, but harmless as doves. It's not about doing harm, but it's about being shrewd and protecting yourself. It'd be great if everybody lived by the golden rule. Then it wouldn't have situations. But, unfortunately, the reason we have locks on our doors,
I know,
our
right?
house, and it's the same reason that we have real estate contracts that are multiple pages, stuff like that. They're all about protecting, parties' interests, and because there are scoundrels, and so we need to be shrewd as serpents, and not poor stewards. In that parable, the unjust steward, he's commended for being wise, and the way even these unjust stewards. So
Yeah.
how much more being stewards of the things that God entrusts to us, that rather than being careless and whatever, whatever. If it's God's will, it'll be protected. If not, I'm not going to get homeowners insurance. It'll burn. Whatever. If it burns down, it's God's will. If and I'm not going to insure. And I'm not going to get insurance if I hit somebody and kill them, or they hit me and kill whatever. It's God's got it. I'm not. We need to be good stewards and responsible stewards for the things He's entrusted to us, and so yeah. We are as sheep among wolves, and so not out be harmless as doves. Certainly, we're not out to, as you mentioned before, vengeance is mine, saith the Lord. And as James tells us, the wrath of man does not accomplish the righteousness of God.
That's right.
We're not out to get revenge or execute wrath. That's not right. But certainly being a good steward and protecting things that you have is right on target, I think, biblically. And we could look at several proverbs to that extent.
Oh yeah, I mean the Bible's I think there's well over 500-600 verses having to do with the law. And in the New Testament, the book of Romans actually I think mentions it more than anything.
Yeah, and then one of my favorite verses in there, I can't point you to chapter right now or verse number, but Paul says Christ is the end of the law for everyone who believes. And the English translation there, you look at the end of, okay, he's abolished the law, he's wiped out. No, that's not what it means, the end. The end there is...
Sorry, didn't mean to yawn. I think it's the salt cave getting to me.
I can't remember the exact form of the word, but it's based on the noun teleos Greek, which is the fulfillment, the perfection, the end goal. So Christ is the end of the law for everyone who believes. So if you're interested in following the law and the justice and goodness for which it's intended and which God, offered it for, then you'll end up, follow that treasure map, you'll end up where the true treasure is in Christ himself.
And the Lord had problems with the lawyers. He did. The Sadducees, Pharisees, how they kept the law because they weren't merciful. Right? They weren't merciful. So there's mercy and judgment go together, right? Merciful judgment
mercy triumphs over judgment.
Right.
There's certainly.
So, gosh, I can't believe we're almost halfway through the show. Okay.
If anyone knows the character of God, they totally go together.
So this is one thing I want to do. Okay, so you guys know I sell Legal Shield, right? Put a 1 if you know that. Okay, because hopefully you do by now, because I've been telling you about it for about a month. All right. So here's a 1-minute survey I want you all to take right now, okay? Just put put yes or no, yes, Y, or N when I ask the question, okay? So the first question is, do you have a will? Yes or no? Do you have a will? I'm going to wait because I can see some of you in there.
There's a will or a way? Well,
No,
a will or way or like a last will and
Do
testament.
you have a will? Yes or no? Put a Y or N though, that way. Very funny, Melanie. And Steven.
I definitely have a will. It gets me in trouble sometimes.
Okay, so Melanie says no, she doesn't have a will. Okay? I don't either. This weekend, we're going to put our will together. Okay? So, do you have a will? Steven, do you have a will? Marty, do you have a will? Diane, Oddvar, do you have a will? Joe, do you have a will? Mr.? I don't know who these other people are. But no, you don't. Okay. So a couple of you guys don't have a will. Most people don't, actually. Okay, good. Oddbar has a will. Marty does. Good. Glad you do. That's very important. Okay, so the next question is, if you have a will, has it been updated in the last year? Because if you're like most people, probably not. Okay. Okay. Third question. Have you ever received a traffic ticket of any type? With the exception of Bareface, I I actually don't know anybody else who's never had some type of traffic ticket. Right.
I've received 2 moving violations while riding a bicycle, but no ticket involved with an automobile.
Thank God.
Yeah, not that I haven't deserved them.
He has, trust me.
I've just never been cited.
I've been in the car when he's deserved a ticket. Trust me. Okay, so Melanie's received a traffic ticket. I know that, actually. Okay. All right. Fourth question. Do you own a gun? I'm pretty sure most of you, I don't know, depending on where you're at, you might actually own a gun, you know. But if you own a gun, this is important. Do you own a gun? I know there's a delay. It's probably a 15, 20-second delay. Trying to see here. Okay. No. Okay. Do you own a business? Some of you might. I actually do. Bible News Radio is a business. Chapel Hill Media, Randall Pandlebear's business. Actually, I guess it's both of our businesses. We're co-owners, me and Bareface are.
Yes, we are
So,
co-members of that LLC.
and if you don't own a business, do you want to own a business or become a business? You know, that's a question too. Do you pay for monthly auto, health, or life insurance? Right? You're creating one now? Good. I'd love to know about it, Marty. Do you pay for auto, health, life insurance every month? Or, a couple times a year anyway? Annually? Yeah. Yeah, we do. We do. Because we have to. In some cases. Not all cases. Me and Randall don't have health insurance because we can't afford it. The Affordable Care Act is too expensive.
And technically, we don't have to have homeowners insurance, but
Yeah, okay.
so it's a really good idea.
Have you ever felt like you've been treated unfairly or had a business rip you off? Most people, yes. The answer is yes to that. And most people, if you've never felt this way, then I'm happy for you. But in my almost 50 years of life, I have been treated unfairly numerous times, whether it's a waitress or a store ripping me off, or bad customer service, or a contractor coming to my house and messing things up, that type of thing. I have been treated unfairly, and I have had businesses rip me off, or bad thing, okay? Have you ever signed a contract? I think all of us have. If you have a cell phone, you probably have signed a contract. Just saying. So, yes, you have. Do you know of anyone who's been a victim of identity theft? I actually know a whole bunch of people who've been a victim of identity theft personally, because every time I bring this up, people go, oh, yeah, I was a victim of identity theft, or this happened. So that's a big issue, and as you know, Legal Shield has ID Shield too, so that's why that's in there. Have you ever hired an attorney? I have. I hired an attorney because I take care of my dad, and, you need an attorney sometimes, so. Okay, here's one, and you guys should know this if you watch all the time. What do you think the average attorney hourly rate is? And it's interesting. I've gotten a lot of interesting responses on this to people who are filling out this survey for me. But what do you guys think? I know Melanie knows. This is the average in America, by the way. What the average attorney hourly rate is in America. And the reason why people don't hire attorneys, generally speaking, is because they can't afford it. Because it's high. 500, do you really think that? Or is that a joke? I guess it depends on your attorney. But, in different parts of the country, attorney fees are higher than other parts of the country. So, is that it? The only guess is 500? Okay. So, the average hourly rate for an attorney is $250. Okay, so it's $250 an hour, which adds up a lot, especially if you're dealing with a lot of stuff. 750, yeah, that's the average is 250. Okay, this one I want you to answer. If you didn't have to pay high attorney fees by the hour, would you use legal help more often to help you with your life events and various things that take place? I've only had one person answer no to that. I don't know why they said no. I think it was a mistake, actually. Most people would actually say yes. If I didn't have to pay that high, ridiculous rate of $250+ an hour, of course, you would call an attorney and you would talk to them. And if you don't have your will done yet, the average, wills can cost $1,000, $1,000 to get done. They're not cheap, especially if you're a family and you have kids and all that other stuff. And all that. So here's the last question is, if you could save that cost on getting a will done and not pay $1,000, would you do it? And again, I've only had one person say no, to which I go, are you a multimillionaire or something that I don't know about? Because you work at this assisted living place not making a lot of money. Just saying. Very super weird. So here's the survey basically to find out if you actually would benefit from Legal Shield. I just gave it to you. If you said yes to any of these questions, you can totally benefit from Legal Shield Protective Services. Because what it is, it's the gap. It fills in the gap between your public defender that really poor people get and having to pay a really high cost just for whatever service it is. And what it does, literally, you guys, I'm just telling you here what it costs. If you knew all you had to pay was about $25 a month for a person that would cover your husband, your wife, and kids under 26 years old, and you would get benefits like I just listed there, wouldn't you do it to protect yourself? I mean, that's the insurance. That's all it costs. Literally. $24.95. That's it. My car insurance for a 12-year-old car is more than that every month. It's like $50 or something. But for $24.95 for an individual and a family with kids living at home under 26 years old, you can actually be covered for $25 with Legal Shield. That's how cheap it is. And it's that way on purpose because the Christian man that came up with the idea and the concept for Legal Shield, his goal was to actually go ahead and say, hey, this is a gap. This is a need. And the attorneys, what they do is they write you letters on your behalf. They call on your behalf. They look at contracts. You have a contract that needs to be signed. You have a traffic ticket that needs to be dealt with. There is supplemental gun insurance. There's business insurance that costs a little bit more. But there's a ton of stuff that you get for that. Plus you get perks. I've already talked to you about the perks in the past. Now, the identity theft is only $9.95 a month for an individual. So if you were to get the whole package, it's literally $34, I think, and 90 cents. And there is nobody that I know that cannot afford that. And yet, what I'm trying to get people to understand is that you can't not afford to do it because you're going to get ripped off by somebody. Things are going to happen. And if you begin thinking justice, and hey, I need to get this taken care of, then you're going to have a venue and a way to do it. Whereas before you just didn't think about it. I was in Dollar Tree over the weekend talking to a lady in the store because we were there. Both of us were getting birthday supplies for birthday parties we were throwing. Me for my dad and her for a baby shower. And she has a family of 4. She has 4 children and her husband. So there's 6 people there. And I was asking her all these questions because we hit it off. And she was saying, oh yeah, my neighbor, about a year ago, wanted to take me to court because she said that something happened on my property when it really didn't. And I said, and she had to get a lawyer and end up paying $1 gazillion for that lawyer to protect herself when Legal Shield would have done it for her. Now there is a caveat here, and that is this. If you call your attorney and they say, well, we really can't do anything with this specific issue, because trust me, what they will do is they will try to cover everything that you need help with. But if they can't, they actually refer you out to your firm, and they give you a 25% off discount. So all you got to do is figure out how much that is. If the average attorney rate is $250 and they give you 25% off, it's not going to be $250. It's going to be cheaper than that. So you're still going to save money, even with that. So I just bring this before you to consider, to really put this in your way. I know a lot of you watch us all the time. Some of you donate regularly, which I really appreciate. You guys are our pillars. Those of you who don't, this is a good way that you can support our show by getting yourself protection, and also as a benefit supporting our show just because you get it through us. So, what I loved what Randall just said. Be shrewd and protect yourself, right? Don't walk around like this, like, oh, there's nothing I can do about it. Yeah, you can. You totally can. And trust me, over the years, I wish that I had known about this. In fact, frankly, my friend Vicky's been telling me about this for 3 years, and I went like that. And 3 years ago, I could have used this even more than I can. By now I could have used it 15 times. Right now, I've actually used it about 5 or 6 times. And I'm sold on it. Literally, I'm sold on it. And I know a lot of you guys are too already. But put a 1 if you think this has been helpful to know, especially in the context of understanding that it's okay for Christians to use lawyers or to be a lawyer, right? In fact, most of the lawyers that I know actually went into law because of something that happened to them where they didn't get justice, or they wanted to, have a contract reviewed. I have a friend right now who owns a business. A patient is trying to lie about her and say that she did something unethical in her billing, and she didn't. And she became a member of Legal Shield in order to protect herself there and say, okay, look, have you ever signed a contract? You don't know what the heck's in it. You find out later, oh my gosh, I had no idea. Well, these attorneys that you pay $25 a month for, basically, will review these contracts completely. I mean, it's in the fee there. I'm just telling you. I'm here to help you. I really am. And so.
Yeah, in the subscription.
Yeah, it's in the subscription fee. Well, and Randall and I, we've saved over $400 using the perks right now. Within a 2-month period, we've saved $400. Now think about it. If I didn't have a membership to Legal Shield, I wouldn't have access to the perks. I wouldn't have saved $400. For us, it's about $45 a month for both of us with identity theft protection. And I can tell you that, $400 saved is a number of months, right? That paid for my membership already. So be wise as a serpent, innocent as a dove. Stand up for yourself and your family. And also, if you're looking for a side income, I can tell you it's great. Yeah, it's very good. And, maybe I'll do another thing on that at some point. But you can't lose. That's my point. Before I forget, though, I want you not to forget that you can get the Ministries of the Holy Spirit free newsletter. Okay? The free newsletter. Or Bible study. I don't know why I called it a newsletter.
I don't know.
I think it's the Salt Cave. I'm feeling the
Blame it on the salt.
Yeah. Anyway, get your free Bible study this month. July's almost over, so don't forget to download the Ministries of the Holy Spirit Bible study. Get that. Anything on our website there, you can save 20% on with the coupon code Bible News from Ariel Ministries. And I would highly recommend getting the book, The Life of the Messiah from a Messianic Jewish Perspective. The abridged version is really good if you just want the short version. If you want all 4 volumes, you can get all those too. Guys, this is a great investment in your spiritual health, or somebody else's, actually. You know, if you have a birthday coming up, why not throw a theology book to somebody? They'll go, hey, this is awesome. Yeah, it is. It's totally awesome. Okay, don't forget also, Bullhorn is on there. They really want us to get 200 followers by the end of this month. Right now we got 42, I think. Maybe 43. So, if you're already following us on Bullhorn, do us a favor and invite your friends and tell them about it. Because we would really appreciate that, and I know Bullhorn would too. You know, this is an audio platform only, and there are times when I know you can't see our show. You might want to just listen to it and enjoy it that way. But of course, you can't see me throwing stuff at Randall in the process. But, you know, just saying, you could still listen to it as well. Am I forgetting anything?
Good question.
I mentioned the pillars, right? Yeah, most of
Did
you
you?
actually who are watching.
I don't think that you did.
Oh, okay. Well, the pillars of the community, those are people that just donate to our show. And most of you actually in here, with the exception of 2 or 3 of you, have given to our show at one point or another. And so I just want to say thank you for that. I really appreciate it. I really do, actually. I was talking to a friend of mine today. We went to have you guys ever heard of the Serenity Salt Cave? So about, what is this, July, April, May, June, July. So in May, I bought Randall his birthday gift, which was a 45-minute treatment in the salt cave. And the pink Himalayan sea salt. This is a room that they put salt all over the walls, all over the floor, and then they take the salt and they blow it into the room. And they have it set up like as this dark cave. They let you listen to music and stuff. Well, me and my friend, we were in there talking the whole time, which you shouldn't do technically, but it was just me, her, and Bareface, who actually, you know, he actually got up and moved away because me and my girlfriend were making
Talking loudly.
we were
And the headphones provided don't provide that much audio insulation.
But anyway, here's the thing. I was telling my friend, I was talking to her about Bible News Radio because we were both just talking. We had played pickleball this morning, and you can't really talk a whole lot when you're playing pickleball except, hey, get that ball. But anyway, so we were talking, and I asked her, I said, how many people do you think that Bible News Radio reaches every month? Just as an example. And she said, hey, Hearts and Stars. She said, oh, I don't know, about 100. I go, no, a month. And she said, I don't know, 400? I looked at her. I was like, really? That's what you think? You think that we only get about 400 viewers a month? I said, like, really? And she's like, well, yeah, well, how much money do you get donated? I said, maybe $300 a month if we're lucky. And she said, well, yeah, so I was thinking maybe 400 viewers. That's what you get. I said, no. Actually, I recently had to figure this out because I was trying to pitch an advertiser to let them know how vast our audience is. I mean, all things considered, with no advertising, etc. I just have to tell you that, you know, that we're reaching about 15,000 people a month, okay? And that's a month. I mean, that's a mega church, right? Plus, hello, one RMCW. Nice emojis there. I like that. So anyway, and so her shock, her was like, oh my gosh, you're reaching like, you know, tens of thousands of people, but you're not having the money come in. And I said, yeah, that's how it always is. Anyway, so all that to say that if you want to donate to our show, be part of the what do you call it? The remnant. Yeah. Donate a couple bucks here and there. Pay our bill to stream this everywhere that we do it. So, but the Serenity Salt Cave, the idea of it
Easy for you to say.
is that you sit there and they blow the salt in the room, and you're supposed to breathe it in, and it's supposed to actually help you out.
But there's salt. The floor is salt. The walls are salt. The ceiling is salt. It's
We've been assaulted.
yeah. I forget how many tons
And
they said.
you know what the bummer part was? We couldn't bring our phone or anything in there.
Well, you could.
No,
but
but she's like,
it's advised against because of the salt, the air
yeah,
be corrosive to electronics. So
yeah. So, but I tell you what, after we came out, my face, I literally just put makeup on right before the show. My face was like burning because it was like, I don't know, I don't know. I don't know how many of you guys have actually done that. You just sent me something. You said I should say,
yeah, we don't need to do it now. I just
oh,
ran across it while looking at something else. And
what is it? Somebody say, oh, is it a frog?
yeah.
Oh, you guys hear about my frog incident the other night? Aw, that's so cute. Yeah, so here in Southern California, I just have to tell you.
You're in Southern
No,
California?
in Tennessee. Here in Tennessee, I just have to tell
Well, I
you.
can keep you out of the salt cave.
It's affecting my mind. Okay, let's say, okay, who is suing you? Dude, I want to go in there with people just for that reason, LOL. Really? Yeah. Well, it was just me, my friend, and Randall. And Randall was like, you guys are talking too much. But, what was I going to say? I don't remember.
Frog incident.
Oh, the frog. Oh, yeah. So the other night, okay, so we got this mattress sent to us. And because we finally bought a new mattress after 20 years of sleeping on the other one. And I wanted barefaced to actually be able to get up without being in pain. To make a long story short, we put our old mattress downstairs on the floor. And when I opened the door to let the dogs out, who let the dogs out? And anyway, yeah, here's a frog. A frog came in our house because we're in Tennessee where it's humid, it's hot. Anyway, sometimes the frogs stick to our window on the back door, but in this case, this frog actually came in the house and it literally jumped up on the vent on our fireplace that we never use. So the vent is like this, you know, you have the vents. This little frog, he literally...
Steel louvers.
Yeah, he actually
Steel
jumped in it
louvers.
like this. Randall's upstairs, right? And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm getting ready to go to bed. I know there's this frog in this house. I'm not going to go to bed now because this frog is in the house. So I yelled, Randall, the frog, there's a frog in the house. And of course, he didn't come down fast enough for me, but he eventually did. Yeah, he eventually did come down. And by then, the frog went missing. And so Randall's looking through it. We took this thing off the fireplace and everything and trying to find this frog. So then I got on Marco Polo with one of my best friends and she's like, how you doing? I'm like, well, there is a frog in my house somewhere. And I said, I'm not going to sleep down here on this mattress because this is where we had to sleep because the mattress we got is one of these ones that had to expand. You couldn't sleep on it for a day, so we were going to sleep on our mattress on the floor. That explains that, right? So I'm like, I'm telling her, there's a frog in our house, and I'm worried. She goes, oh, don't be worried. Just be worried if it's a toad. I'm like, you're really being helpful here. And she's like, no, really, seriously, I used to live in Pennsylvania. Be worried if it's a toad, not a frog. And I said, well, why? What will happen if it's a toad? She goes, well, they're kind of poisonous. And I'm like, you know, you're not making this any easier for me here. First of all,
So not true.
I do not know where this frog went. And I'm assuming it was a frog. I was thinking happy thoughts about this frog. And so then I looked down on the ground on the carpet, and guess who was there? The frog. So I said, Randall, I found the frog. This was like a half hour, 40 minutes later, by the way, that we had been looking for this little guy. And so Randall picked it up, and I was going to take a picture of it. But he said, if I open my hand, it'll jump out. So anyway, Randall took it out, and I actually did it on Marco Polo with my friend. So she actually sees the frog, the frog literally... And I was happy after that. Happily ever after. I was able to sleep on my mattress on the floor the other night because the frog was gone. But I need to be careful because they like to come in the house at night. Just so you know. That was for free. So you sent me this little video because
Because it was about the same size as that little frog.
And do you know what Randall did after he did that? He actually like tried to like he went like so like that, and then he freaked me out. Just so you know, he did.
I said, "Oh, it bit me." Like, why are you afraid of a frog? Well, it might jump on me in the middle of the night. It's like,
Hey,
it's not gonna
I don't like frogs.
bite you or
I don't
anything.
want anything jumping on me anywhere, any time of the day. When we first moved here to Tennessee, we lived in my father-in-law's house.
No more salt for you.
His other house, right? Anyway, and we were sleeping, and you know what fell on us? Ladybugs.
Yeah.
Okay, do you guys have this hair? Look, this is a lot of hair. Getting a ladybug out of this hair is not easy, just so you know. I'm just saying. And the ladybugs here are ugly. They're not like your pretty sweet California ladybugs, you know, which don't do anything. The ladybugs here are like vicious. They fly. They make lots of noise. And they're ugly. They're not like red. They're like orangey colors. And they come in like thousands at a time or hundreds. Anyway, in this particular house, it was like hundreds. And it was like, so, hey, I am not a big fan of ladybugs or frogs in my house. Just saying, people. Just saying. Yeah, Asian beetles. That's exactly right. They're wicked. There was actually an Asian beetle invasion a couple years ago. Literally here in Tennessee, your window was covered with them. I mean, covered. It was like a sheet. And I'm like, dang. You know, I mean... So there, if I had Legal Shield back then, I might be suing somebody for like, no, I'm just kidding. I wouldn't be. All right, so you guys have any questions? We got probably about 8 minutes left of this show. Because usually we in the past, we went like to 15 after, quarter after. It's nice to see so many of you here. Elbert was over on Facebook. But I don't know if, Elbert, are you still there? I don't know if you're still there or not. So, yeah. Did they get in your hair then? Yeah, actually a couple of them did. And I had a bee a number of years ago actually sting me in my head. You know, an actual bee stung me on the top of my head because it got caught in my hair. And so I'm very sensitive to things getting caught in my hair. I don't like bugs. No, I don't. Do not like bugs. Bugs are not my friend. They're not your friend either. Hey, Tim Gillette. Nice to see you, buddy. Okay, I think this is a bot, right? We'll look here. Just make sure. Yeah, that's a sex bot. We'll go ahead and block you, sex bot. There we go. Here to bug you. You never bug me. Tim Gillette never bugs me. He's awesome. Tim rocks. All right, you guys have any other questions? Bareface, you have anything you want to say? I know one of the breaking news stories.
Yeah, that's no poisonous toads in the U.S.
So she was BSing me, probably.
Either
yes,
joking with you or terribly misinformed.
I think
there's only.
Well, we all know who it was. So you know, do you think a therapist
Probably comes from this old tale that toads give you warts if you pick them up, but
do you think a therapist who specializes in anxiety would intentionally try to provoke anxiety in a best friend? Do you?
I don't know, but
because I kind of think that's what she was doing. Yeah. But the good news is the frog is now outside the house.
poisonous toads, the only poisonous frog native to the U.S. is the pickerel frog, and it's not a bite or anything like that. It's skin secretions, which is toxic to some of its predators, but to most just an irritation. However, the arrow poison frog of South America, same thing. It's a skin secretion that's poisonous, but it's lethal to humans. But that's anyway. Poisonous toads. It's just.
You thought roads are only poisonous if you lick them? You mean toads? Yeah, I actually asked the question on my Facebook. Hey, how do you get rid of this? And somebody said flies, and I'm like, really? Where am I gonna find flies this late at night?
To get rid of a frog?
Yeah,
Well,
that's what Phil said.
That'd make them want to stay.
Yeah.
If you feed them.
So JD is saying, Randall, which version after the KJV do you recommend? I can tell you the answer to that. He likes
Well, I wouldn't. Well, go ahead.
I think Randall likes the J.P. Green version of the Bible.
I do like
Me,
the late J.P. Green's translation, known today as the KJ3. I like its preservation of it being a very, very literal translation, even more so than the KJV. But I like the KJV because of Old English, that it preserves the singular and plural second person, which English has lost over the centuries. And it's important. It's important in some scriptures, whether it's addressed to an individual, thou, or addressed to several people, you.
Yeah. Personally, I like the New American Standard.
The nearly as spiritual Bible, NASB.
Well, it's better than the Necessary and the Vineyard Bible. Just
Well,
so you know.
the thing I have as a regular listener, the thing I have against it's a good translation. However, it uses as the Greek text the Nestle Ungerman or the Nestle Aland Greek text, which is based on Codex Sinaiticus, Codex Sinaiticus, and Codex Vaticanus.
Whatever.
Anyway, which were Greek manuscripts discovered, and that's dubious, discovered
I know I should care, but I don't.
in the late 19th century, and presumed to be older than all other manuscripts.
Gotcha.
For no real good cause, in my not so humble opinion. So we've got two copies of the New Testament, and we say, well, these are presumably older. We just discovered them, therefore they're more reliable. It just goes against textual criticism versus the majority text, which means that the majority, also known as the Textus Receptus, the thousands of Greek manuscripts, which we have to compare with one another. And there are some differences with some word order and some spelling and maybe a word or two missing. But compared to those presumably earlier manuscripts, discovered not until the late 19th century, just two,
Okay, so
which are missing entire
JD.
chapters and
so
significant wording differences.
Joe wants to know if the KJ3 is readily accessible.
Yes, I think you find it at sgpbooks.com. Check that out. That's for Sovereign Grace Publishers.
Yeah, they do.
SGP Books.
Melanie wants to know what you think of the Amplified. I'll answer that while he's looking it up. I love the Amplified. I can talk. I actually, at first,
Isn't redirecting properly.
when I heard about the Amplified version, I was kind of skeptical of it. But then because in my Bible I use the Strong's Concordance and Lexicon and all that stuff that's tied back, I like the Amplified because it actually already takes all that info, puts it right there in the text, and so I think it's really cool. And the other cool thing about the Amplified, in case you didn't know, is that it was actually translated by a woman. So there are some women theologians out there, just so you know. And I know some people are like, oh my gosh, it was translated by a woman. I'm not going to read it now, but that's okay.
Yeah, there's that is the right URL, but for some reason, it's not redirecting properly.
Yeah. Well, I think our show is almost over here.
Yeah.
Periscope, it says, trying to reconnect. Oh, it's back.
If you want a modern English version that uses the Textus Receptus, the majority text is the Greek text, then the MEV, the modern English version.
Don't I have a copy of that, right?
I don't know.
I think that's what I got at NRB. They gave me a free Bible.
Yeah.
It's big print, which I was super happy about. Yeah, it was. I was like, yeah, I can read this. Yeah, there's nothing like a little print Bible. You're like, I can't read that. Anyway, all right,
Like
you guys.
these.
You guys have any feedback? Any comments or anything you want to? Here's your last chance to say anything before we end the show. By the way, thank you for tuning into the show. If you decide you do want to support Bible News Radio and get yourself legal protection, make sure you contact me personally. I'll show you a whole presentation rundown, and so that you know where your money's going, what you're going to get. I'll put you into a Facebook group, and we'll help you use your service to your benefit. I just encourage you to do it. Just protect yourself, protect your family, get yourself identity theft protection. You're going to need it because data breaches are happening all over the place, and all of our identities are actually at risk. And that, unfortunately, is a true story as well. So next week, right now, as far as I know, I actually don't have anyone booked as a guest, so you might just get us all next week doing news shows. And so here's what I'd love for you to do, is shoot me an email or send me a tweet or whatever. Contact me on social media. All you guys are friends of mine for the most part. On social media, shoot me the stories or topics you want us to cover, because I'm going to have more time next week to do that. And we'll go ahead and do that. We'll bring it to you from a biblical perspective in as much as we can, right? Okay, so, yes.
Just one more thing here.
You can say it. I have the frog
Since
right here.
Since the link I gave earlier is not working, I see here that it's actually available online.
Oh, it is? Cool.
And I know it's also available, also known as LITV, literal version. It's also available for free within the eSword application. That's Windows only.
I know, that's the bummer part, man. I love that app, and because I'm on Apple, I can't have it.
Oh, you're talking about MySword.
Yeah.
Yeah, MySword for Android, but there's eSword.
Oh, eSword.
Developed by a guy here in Franklin, Tennessee. It's another free app, donationware, if you choose to donate. But one of the modules available for that is JP Green's. Oh, I was thinking, how am I going to type this in the URL? But dang, we've got screen share here. Real quick here, let me... Boom. And coming up real tiny.
Sometimes I feel like we should do an extra long show just for fun.
Yeah, let me see if I can get the URL in here. Not really, but too small to see on the screen. Let me do this. I'm going to bring up something like WordPad. Drop it in there. And make it bigger. And then, yeah. Bear with me.
We are bearing with you, Bareface.
Bear with me, folks. I just...
To bear with Bareface or not, that is the question. No, I'm just kidding. That wasn't really the question. Actually, it was the question.
Monitor 1. There we go.
Uh-huh.
And then, still didn't quite work. But,
So while Ron was doing that, I have to tell you, today's question of the day was, have you ever eaten frog's legs, or would you if you haven't? First of all, I actually...
Yes, I have.
I actually will never eat frog's legs to my knowledge, okay? If somebody decides they want to give them to me and not tell me what they really are, I might accidentally eat them. Otherwise, no little frog's legs for me, people. It's so funny, some of the answers my friends gave. One person says, yes, fried or grilled or barbecued. Ugh. Another person said, no, but I wish I had tried them before becoming a vegetarian. I think that was Diane that said that. Deborah said, no, and no Kermit for me. Yes, cooked in butter, garlic with salsa on tortilla is so good. Ooh. Somebody else said, yes, they're delicious. Yeah. Ooh, yuck. And Beth said no. Rita said no, but she would try them. Catherine said tried them, but prefer snails. I'm like, oh my gosh. People. Ugh.
I've had frog legs, but I can't.
I
can't imagine myself trying escargot snails.
Well, Melanie said, question for those who have tried them, what do they taste like? And Michael says, has sort of a seafood unique flavor to them. So for that right there alone, I would never eat it because I hate seafood. Ugh.
Yeah, I guess.
But then other people said it kind of tastes like chicken. That's what I heard.
Sort of. I would
but
equate it more to chicken than to
I am so
beef. But
I'm not a big fan of chicken, though. I'm not a big chicken fan.
It's a white meat.
Snails are good. Ugh. Yeah, they're good in the shell, outdoors, sliding around on pavement. You know, they're not.
Not on my tongue.
I don't want to eat them. Ugh. I just am not a big fan.
But I was wondering, what do you do with the rest of the frog? It seems like, if you're a deer hunter, you just don't take the legs and run. There's plenty of, stuff to do with the hide, the antlers, the meat, organ meats, stuff like that. You can make use of practically the whole animal. Even the hooves there are
What
uses
you do
for.
is you donate them to a high school lab where they can dissect them.
Yeah, big container of legless frogs.
That is the only time I've ever touched a frog was when it was dead. I cut open its chest so I could see its heart because it was part of my biology class assignment, just so you know. Yeah, right? Yeah. No. I am not going to eat any frog. The only frog I will touch is this fake one, which lights up, hopefully. It's supposed to light up. Well, maybe the ball inside of it went dead. Oh, no, there it goes. Wait.
Just squeeze it.
Squeeze it. Uh-oh, it broke. The ball's broke inside. I can feel it.
Now
Here,
you've done it.
Now I've done it? Yeah, well, I have done it. Yeah, I have. We should call a legal shield to have them protect that frog from...
A little too late.
What do you expect from a 99-cent toy that you get at Dollar Tree? Frogs are too cute to eat. Yeah, they are. They're very cute and they're lovable as long as they live outdoors. Don't come in my house and get on my mattress. Just saying. Yeah. Can you imagine me at 89 years old? I'm telling a story. First of all, I shouldn't say because I don't know old people that actually talk like that. I know a lot of old people. I should say, I'm going to tell you a story of a time when, that's how dementia goes. They're like, what are you talking about? I'm like, I don't remember. No more salt for you. Yeah. You know what's really interesting? I have to be honest. I didn't really walk out of the salt cave going, oh my gosh, that was the best experience ever. Oh, I'm so high off the salt. I actually was a little bit disappointed, to be honest. I was expecting this experience, but yeah, it wasn't. It's not like I feel different, but I kind of feel tired. I only got like 4.5 hours of sleep last night. But in case you're wondering, I'm sleeping really good on my new mattress, so that's kind of cool. It's kind of nice to have a new mattress after 20 years. So I played super good at pickleball today. I even got Phil's approval. Phil actually said I played good, and he was going to give me an award, which, just saying, he didn't. But hey, for Phil to say that you played good, I actually played good today. But it was hot in the gym. They were supposed to fix the air conditioner, still not fixed. It's horrible.
All right, it's almost 1/2 hour.
Did your bronchial tubes feel better? No, I actually was still congested, actually. But but we went out to eat lunch afterwards, and so I think between that and this, it's just been a day. But it's Friday. We've had a good week. We had that guy from Israel on yesterday. We had Mark Shaw on the week in the show earlier this week, which I actually thought was a super interesting show. With that, I think the topics are heavy, but hopefully you guys enjoy them because it gives you a perspective on humanity. And that's what I was just going to say. You know, the lead story over on the Drudge Report was of, you know, as you guys probably know, I actually did not know this. Oh, it's actually, they switched it. But it was of that that boat that sunk, you know, and all these people died there in Branson. About, I guess, the hour outside of it. The duck boat horror. 17 people dead. Yeah, you can actually taste the salt. In fact, when I came out, my face was burning, and I could taste the salt on my thing, and there was salt on our clothing too, so it was kind of interesting. But you guys saw this thing here? Hey, Marlene, nice to see you. So the duck boat that capsized, you know, with all these people, 31. It was carrying 31 people, and 17 died. You know, and you know. So Derek Gilbert, from my friend over at Skywatch TV, who actually you hear every day at the beginning of the show, you know, it's his voice narrating. You know, he wanted to encourage us all to remember that you really don't know when you're going to die, which is, again, part of the reason why you need to get your will done, okay? Just saying. You don't know when your number's up. And I'm sure these people who died suddenly last night in that storm had no idea that was it, you know. So we need to remember two things. Number one, make sure that you have your affairs in order for those who are left behind. And number two, make sure you have your affairs in order for your eternity by following Jesus, you know, and being his disciple, and then taking the opportunity to share with people where they're going to go. I mean, last Monday, I think it was, I told you my friend Hal, his brother died. He was only 40 years old. I'm still actually a little bit in shock about it, that he died, because 40 is not old, people, you know, and we just don't know. We don't know. So just remember to share Christ with people. Anthony Borden knew when his time was up. I'm not sure who that is. The name rings a bell, but I'm not sure who it is. Remind me who that is, because at the moment, the salt probably is in my head trying to, you know, confusing me.
Travel Channel guy. He
committed suicide? That guy committed suicide?
I'm not sure.
I don't know. Anyway.
I should know, but I don't.
Point is, share the gospel with people. Make sure you're right with the Lord. Get an attorney. Protect yourself. Don't be a victim to the world, to other people. Stand up, be strong, be bold, stand up, and go with God. Always. And if you never hear from me again, always remember that. Just because God wants us to be bold, he wants us to stand up, and he wants us to go with him. Is it going to be comfortable? No. Is it going to be like peaceful all the time? Nope. But you know what? Most Christians in the world are being persecuted as we speak. We have it cushy here in America and parts of Canada that's still kind of more liberal up there. But you can still say the name of Jesus publicly without going to jail yet. So, and keep your eye on Israel. See what's going. Yesterday's show was very interesting. My guest was not a Christian. He was an Orthodox Jew who does not believe Jesus is his Messiah. And I have to tell you, after the show, we had this really interesting conversation with him. And I should share this. If you're staying here and listening to this, you guys are going to be so blessed. After the show, we were talking about, I'm just going to do this if you don't mind, Randall, because this is so cool. So
you want to save it for the pillars?
Well, most of the people in here are pillars. So after the show, he was showing us this ring that he had on his finger, because I was showing him my Jewish ring that I got when I was in Israel. And he said, this is to remind me of the miracle that God did in my life. And we were listening. He said a couple of years ago, he was in the hospital. He needed, what did he say, a transfusion? Because his white
a bone marrow transplant.
Okay, so this guy needed a bone marrow transplant because I guess his white blood cells was really bad, obviously, because he needed a bone marrow transplant. Anyway,
Right. He just had very few white blood cells. It was like leukemia, but
Yeah. So he was basically about to die. Okay. This was our guest yesterday, who's 34 years old, by the way, has 6 kids and a wife. So he was telling us that he got this ring to put on his finger so that he would remember that the miracle God did for him. Basically, what happened was God healed him. Not basically, God did heal him. God actually healed him of his bone marrow, the need for a bone marrow transplant. God miraculously healed him. He actually said he's the only person in the history, at least there in Israel, who ever actually left the hospital who needed a bone marrow transplant, who actually walked out of the hospital completely healed. And he never got the bone marrow transplant. I told him, I actually said to him, I said, AY, why didn't you share this on our show? I said, do you realize what a testimony that would be to our audience? You know, and the interesting thing is he actually said, he said when he was laying in bed thinking he was going to die, he kept quoting the scripture in the Old Testament about bringing the dead bones back to life. Now,
Ezekiel 30.
yeah. Now, what's interesting about that is a prophecy. It's actually a prophecy of bringing Israel back to life, right? But, here's a Jew, an Orthodox Jew, who, by the way, I told him he should read the New Testament. He told me he knew it was in it, so I don't know what his stance on Christ is yet, but I wouldn't be surprised if he got saved at some point. But, so, pray for AY, because the Lord's miraculously healed him for a purpose. And he knows it was God that did it. He just doesn't realize it's Yeshua that did it. So, isn't that a cool story? I mean, seriously. So, I might grab the audio for our pillars and put it in your next email that I send out for the pillars of our community. So you can actually hear him tell the story. I don't know why is there static there?
I don't know. I will investigate.
Anyway. All right. So anyway, you guys have a good weekend. I don't know if Randall's gonna do anything over the weekend. I don't plan on it. And I'll see you on Monday, Lord willing. And I hope you have a great weekend.